So this is just going to be a really quick insert. However, I think it's very important to me, especially being the fact that a lot of people struggle, a lot of people struggle with confidence and depression and anxiety and overall, like, I don't want to say bullying because it's not really bullying, but it's like scrutiny, sabotage, or like gossip intent to psychologically destroy a person because you feel they're stronger. It's human nature. But I had somebody tell me indirectly that how could I expect to be this wonderful, beautiful superstar, movie star, singer, songwriter, composer. Like, they literally discriminated against me because my teeth aren't straight, because my teeth aren't perfect, because I'm a little bit older than most individuals who start their careers. And I don't exactly look great today because I went to a baseball game. However, my point is, why are we discriminating against a person whose voice you've never heard, whose movies you've never seen, whose talent and skill sets you've never been able to appreciate, based off of, and yet you're judging them based off of what makes you feel uncomfortable because you have perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect body, perfect shape, perfect personality, you have tons of friends and stuff like that. Like, I understand bullying to an extent is a part of normal day-to-day life in human nature and animal nature and so forth and so on, but what kind of a joy and a rewarding joy, let me clarify that, does a person get, especially a teenager or I don't want to say young adult, but an adult in, let's say, college? What gratification do they get by sitting there telling you all these things and then trying to single you out because you smell differently than they do, or your persona is different? Like what gratification do you get from discriminating against another person because they're not like you, because they're not perfect like you, because they're not within your bracket of what's acceptable? I was raised in a time frame to where if you didn't have anything nice to say, you didn't say it at all. But then again, I've also made the mistakes and the correlations of speaking, I don't want to say out of turn, but speaking without thinking and responding to situations. Especially, it happened today, I responded to a situation that I didn't think about first. But what goes on through our minds as human beings to believe that discriminating against the other person or belittling the other person makes us a better person just because the other person says so? It really is depressive, not for me as a person, but as a society that's come so far. We used to be barbarians, and we've accomplished not being that. We've actually moved forward and closer to a more definitive understanding of the human mind, where being kind, what is the saying, being humble and kind is definitively the way to go because it doesn't do damage to anybody's psyche. And then of course it's cold. And then of course you have the individuals who sit there and say, well, it's not my problem, and if I can get in their head, I'm going to. But what good does that do? It makes you feel good in the meantime. And we all make the choices and mistakes at times. But what good does it do to consistently put yourself in a position where you're making yourself feel better by making somebody else feel wrong? What does that do? How does that help? How does that correlate? A person who's youthful and young doesn't quite comprehend what a person who, for instance, has a little bit more wisdom and a few more years on their back, they think, the younger generation seems to think that they're better because, I've got my beauty, and I've got my charm, and I've got my intellect, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you intentionally, like, And we all do it. Like, I can't even get mad at it, but it frustrates me because as a person who deals with confidence issues, who deals with anxiety, and who has had depression before, I'm wondering where the parents are that are raising these adolescents. Why do we have an abundance of why do we have an abundance of I'm just going to say it, why do we have an abundance of assholes in this world, when in all reality what we need is an abundance of parents that are actually taking responsibility of their children and raising their children to be societal infrastructured members of stature, not status, stature, respect, morals, respect. I'm just going to say respect. Excuse me. Where are these parents at that are raising these children, raising these adolescents, raising these high school kids, raising these college kids? Where are these parents? It's not the parents' fault for what the child does. I get that. But the parents' teachings do make a difference. Parents' teachings do make a difference. And I think that's the definitive difference between, for instance, me and other individuals who are parents that don't quite comprehend situations that people go through, and yet it's acceptable because as long as you're the person, basically like the totem pole, as long as you're at the top of the totem pole, big man on campus, stuff like that, then you don't have to be concerned or concern yourself with others' emotions or the effects. And it's human nature. We all do this. Not one person doesn't do this. Even babies have this demeanorisms at times. But with that said, being an adult, at what age is it appropriate to sit there and say, hey, you know what? I grew up and I'm trying to better you, especially when you have those psychological engagements with the individuals where you have the conversations and you establish a common ground for respect, and then the respect is not mutual. Like, at one point, when do we ask ourselves, what the heck and where the hell were these parents at? Like, you're going to make your choices, and we're all going to make our choices, and we all mess up. But some of them go out of their way to do it. Like, they go out of their damn way to do it. And being a parent myself, I find it extremely intrusive on the liberties to go about your way with everybody judging. I mean, we have people in power, law enforcement. We have had, I don't know of anything recently, but we have had issues with totalitarianism and socialism and communism within power, positions of power. So is it that we're not giving them a good example? do these adolescents who are coming into their adulthood not have somebody to look up to? Do they undermine a person because they don't have the exact same thing they do? I mean, maybe I'm going a little bit in depth on this, but just because we have a certain status within society for the expectancy. It's like, for instance, an adult. Adults don't typically go out and make childish choices and flaunt themselves around in lingerie. It's not that they can, it's not that they don't, it's not that they won't, it's that typically you leave that stuff to the bedroom because there's a certain etiquette about it. Or you go, like, if you're going to wear, like, lingerie stuff or lingerie etiquette, you do it in places that are understanding, clubs and whatever, whatnot. You don't, I'm kind of mixing a bunch of different things because a bunch of different things have happened, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I feel alone as an adult, and maybe that's just the path that I took, but that's something we need to talk about as a society. Just saying.